Hey guys, Shio here. This is how I got all Steam achievements in Final Fantasy 3. But first, this was all streamed live on Twitch, so if you want to come join my 100% grinds, which I'm doing it now as content, feel free to stop by. It took me roughly 30 hours to 100% this game. I will be honest when I say this, the only two achievements that I struggled with were Traveler's Wayfarer, where the one where you visit all the locations on the overworld map, and the Flying Continent. Like, I just couldn't, it took me a while to find all the Chocobo forests, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out where Doga's village was and how to get to it. So that took some time, and the other achievement was the 100% bestiary, because I ended up missing some missable endgame monsters in Leviathan's lair, our dungeon, aka Lake Door, I think that's how you pronounce it, so I had to replay through the entire game just to unlock the dungeon again, silly me. The hidden item one did take some time though, because I ended up backtracking through the game and found out I needed to go to Castle Argus and speak to a white mage in the left tower after freeing everyone from Castle Hein for 2 elixirs, which is a really good hidden item in my opinion, because elixirs are super useful endgame. I'll just quickly explain a good bulk of the achievements that were easy that don't take much explanation for what they are. That being the gold achievements, the leveling achievements, the monster battle achievements, and the chest achievements. These were all really simple and don't take much explanation. And you may be saying, the chests were easy? Yes, in Pixel Remastered you can track what chests and hidden items you have left on the overworld map every time you press X or whatever your map button is on the overworld, and see what you have left in each location by hovering over them. This made the chests really easy to track and the hidden items really easy to track. I'll just say this right now, for the story achievements I won't be explaining the in-between quests, just the parts where we get the achievement and some important parts, just so that the video doesn't end up being really long. So our journey begins in the cave next to our hometown, where we easily defeat some low-level monsters and their boss, the Land Turtle. These were the first enemies of the game, so they were really easy. And get our first blessing from the first crystal, the Wind Crystal, that gives us access to 5 new jobs, and our first achievement, Hope of the Wind. I'll tell you this right now, every time we get a blessing from a crystal, we get access to new jobs, and my favorite class hands down in this game is the Black Belt class, or the Black Belt job. I just think at a really high level, it's stupidly OP and it helped me just breeze through some content when I started using it on my characters. Then after some story, we get our airship fitted with a mithril drill from the town of Kazoos. I think that's how you say it, or Kazoos. This had me cracking up a bit because we ended up smashing our recently acquired airship into the side of a boulder to break it. It ended up wrecking our airship in return, giving us access to more of the map and our second story achievement, Crushing Force. What a way to get an achievement, just losing our airship right off the bat. Then through easing the spirit of a water dragon, we get access to the Enterprise, a ship for sailing on water, which gives us access to a good portion of the map and our next location, the Tower of Lowen. We go through the tower with our ally Dash in Toad form we met a while back, finding out that he's the watchman of the tower but lost his memories. But traversing the tower, he regains his memories and remembers if something bad ever happens to the tower that he would awake to fix it. I didn't realize at the time I could just use Toad again on 2 other allies to untoad them while in the dungeon, or while in the tower, which would have made the fighting a lot easier, let's just say, for the bestiary achievement. I used quite a bit of items here, especially on the boss Medusa, where all I could use was items to deal damage, because in Toad form you can't deal physical damage that much, because like every time you do an attack it only does 1 damage, and you can't use magic while in Toad form. We beat Medusa and Dash jumps into the furnace, which somehow fixes the tower and gives us our third achievement, a Watchman's Duty, and also giving us access to more of the map, since fixing the tower gave us access to the outer sea of the map. Our next boss fight is the Salamander. After traversing the Molten Cave and getting to the Fire Crystal room, we have a warm welcome with a previous boss, Gutsko. I think that's how you pronounce his name, but now with the power of the Fire Crystal, he mutated into Salamander. This boss, like all the other previous bosses, were all pushovers, let's just say that. Not sure if it was because I was over leveled, but they were fairly easy. We defeat Salamander, and we get access to more new jobs. And our next achievement, Hope of Fire. Once we leave the floating continent on our recently converted Enterprise into airship, we find that almost everything on the next map is covered in water. We find a shipwreck in the northeast side of the map with a girl in it who we find out is the Priestess of Water. Our duty is now to bring her back to the water temple, go through the cave behind the water temple, and fix the water crystal. But this is where we find our next boss, the Kraken. This was a really easy fight because the Kraken, I think, is weak to lightning, so it made like my Black Mage really useful, and it didn't really have that much health. And after that, we got the blessing from the crystal whilst an earthquake was happening. And on top of that, the blessing gave us access to new jobs, one of those jobs being my favorite class in the game, the Black Belt class. After some traveling on our airship, we end up getting shot down in Castle Sarania. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Where we find out the king split up the army and started a civil war. After some traveling around, we find that the recently exiled prince in a pub in one of the Sarania towns. We talk to him and find out what happened, and our next stop is the castle to talk to the king. But first we collect all the Dragoon equipment, which is very useful for the upcoming boss fight. So after reaching the castle, we get into a fight with the next boss, Garuda. If you're ever stuck on this boss, I recommend 3 Dragoons and 1 White Mage for heals. You just gotta jump with the Dragoons and always heal with your White Mage. You just gotta hope that your White Mage heals before your Dragoons jump and heals after your Dragoons land. So like it's really RNG heavy, but like it works. Like I did it on my second playthrough and it was really easy. But this boss fight was a lot harder than the previous ones, but I got really lucky and first tried it without knowing Dragoons were its weakness. Well, I knew it was their weakness, but I didn't think I would be getting into the boss fight right off the bat. So I ended up using my normal team and survived with just my Black Mage left, which in my opinion was probably one of the most exciting boss fights so far. After defeating Garuda and saving Sarania, we get the achievement A Peaceful Sarania and access to a new airship, the Nautilus, which is a high-speed airship which will be used for us to get to Doga's Manor to enchant our Nautilus into a submarine. After getting the Nautilus enchanted into a submarine and going through a couple of the underwater dungeons, including the optional boss you can fight at the moment, which is Odin. Odin took a couple tries because his AoE skill was really annoying to heal through, because I didn't have that much health at the time, because I do think I was underleveled a bit, but I still beat him after a couple tries. After doing Odin, I went to the underwater temple and got Noah's flute to wake up Une. After waking up Une, I think that's how you pronounce the name, we get the next story achievement, waking from Dreamland. Our next location is north of Une's cave, where we need to get this really big airship from the dungeon. This thing is massive. Like, it's genuinely the most coolest thing I've seen in a Final Fantasy game so far. It's literally a portable shop, and it has a portable shop and everything. Even a healing station, a bed, like, it's the coolest thing they implemented into a game so far, in my opinion. But with this, we recently acquired the warship. I think it's called the warship. We can now do the other optional bosses, Leviathan and Behemoth, on the floating continent. Let's just say I was really underleveled for those bosses, but still somehow beat them. It was crazy fun because it was a challenge. I think I first tried Leviathan though, but Behemoth ended up taking a couple tries because he just does so much damage. After some more story, we end up in the third last area of the game, the Ancient Maze, where the last crystal, the Earth Crystal, is. Once we entered the room where the crystal is, we were attacked by the boss guarding it, called the Titan. It was a fairly simple boss fight. All I did was attack with my attackers and healed with my White Mage to sustain the damage. It didn't take that long, and we got our next achievement, Hope of the Earth. But after the fight, I ended up switching all my characters to Black Belts because the monsters in this area and in the next area were just way too strong. They were doing 1.6k damage to my party, and no one could survive more than 2 hits. So I ended up grinding all my characters to level 61 as black belts, so I can sustain all the damage they do. After reaching level 61, I ended up going to the Crystal Tower to then do the optional dungeon Eureka, which also gives a achievement after 100%ing the Eureka dungeon, where the story says has the most overpowered weapons in it that are sealed away from mankind so that they can't have it. So I easily went through the entire dungeon, got all the weapons and the achievements, and the achievement Forbidden Weapons. There's also a boss at the end of the Eureka where if you beat him, he gives you access to 2 new classes. But since we were already the black belt classes, I have no need for these other classes, but still beat him anyways for the achievement. Because like he guards a weapon, I think. So after Eureka was finished, I traversed the Crystal Tower, making sure to try and get every monster for my Bestiary achievement. Ended up missing a couple, but oh well, I can always come back on the same file and farm again for those specific monsters. And ended up going through the entirety of Crystal Tower to fight the boss Xande. I think that's how you pronounce his name, Xande. Like, I was extremely overleveled at this point, and the black belts just did too much damage, so I ended up, I think, one-turning him, which was really funny. But after the fight, we get into a fight with the real end boss, the Cloud of Darkness. This fight was made to kill you, so I ended up dying, but the story goes on. And ended up being resurrected by Doga, and now we're off to the World of Darkness, our last location. I ended up collecting the last of the chests I needed here for the 100% chest achievement, and did all the bosses. Now it's time for our rematch with the Cloud of Darkness. Since I was overleveled, it was fairly easy. I only needed to heal once with my elixirs the entire fight. This fight was fun. It wasn't challenging, but it was because I was overleveled, but it was still at the very least fun. But we ended up defeating the Cloud of Darkness and getting our last story achievement after the very long credits as well, A Vision of Hope. And that's how I 100% Final Fantasy 3. Thank you guys so much for watching. It was amazing working on this video, and I plan on turning most of my next 100% streams into more content for YouTube. I hope you enjoyed the video. It took me a long time to make. Have a nice day, and see you in my next 100% Steam Achievement video. Thank you. Peace out.